The ones who are in the waiting room, those you are taking care of, right?
Yeah, I'll take care of.
Okay, so give me a thumbs up, guys, if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. If I can just do an official formal introduction. So,
Go ahead, sir.
good morning, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, Aditya, for consenting to do the session. We spoke to Aditya after he shared one of his podcasts on marketing and his career and how it has shaped up. And he was more than gracious to accept and start and take the session today. In fact, we just spoke to him last week and he was all ready for taking a session this week. So thank you so much. I guess some of you have had a chance to interact with him during your induction last academic year. And so here today he is talking about how marketing is evolving and fundamentals continue to remain the same. Right? So thank you so much once again, Aditya, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Sumit. You want to wait for a couple of these people who are still coming in?
No, we can get them in.
We can get them in. Okay, great. So, guys, thank you first of all for being here on time, and I'm sorry I was a little late logging in. One of the things that happens on Zoom is that once I play a full screen, I can't see if anybody's commenting on anything. But I am going to ask you guys to take some notes, write some stuff down separately if you can. And two, in between, if I ask a question, try and put something in the comments. I'll stop the presentation and go back to it if I need to. I have about 50 slides that I'm going to present, but my slides usually contain a lot of the stuff that I'm anyway going to talk about. And so I can vary the pace of the presentation. So before I start with the topic that I'm going to talk about, I'm just trying to make sure that these things don't interrupt on the screen. Okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit about myself. This is probably this is what you can see on my LinkedIn profile. The keyword that you see are essentially these, right? But that's not the important part according to me. The important thing for me is why these things exist. So if I had to reintroduce myself, I would probably say, looking back, that I'm a very curious person, and so a lot of things that I end up doing are because of the fact that I can't stop myself from doing it. I'm curious to know why some things work. I'm also a student, by the way. I'm currently pursuing my PhD. So in that sense, both of us are students, and only Umar is a sir here. The other thing is I've been a mentor and a coach to a lot of my startups for a long time because I believe that it is possible to find structured solutions. What I mean by that is that, most people tend to think of their problems as their problems and the rest of the world as different. I disagree. I think everybody has similar problems. And so it is possible to find solutions for yourself and for each other by looking at other problems around you. And therefore, if you compare that to, let's say, the human being, then everybody looks different, but there is a skeletal system which is very common, right? So doctors tend to use what they know of the human body rather than what they know of you to start treating you. And therefore, skeletal system is very, very important. I think all business problems have skeletal systems, and so I tend to use those to solve problems. The third thing is that I believe a lot in generating value. I believe that if I can do something good, if I can create some value, then a part of that value will automatically come to me. So I don't need to worry about myself. So whether it is knowledge, whether it is money, if I can create it, if I can share it, then some of it comes back to me. So far, it's worked out. So I'm going to continue doing, what I enjoy doing, right? So that's a bit about me. And the reason why I wanted to put that across to you is because this topic is only an introduction, right? So I'm not in the position to cover your entire marketing syllabus. Neither do I want to, because you're going to spend the next 12 months doing this. But the whole idea of doing this session today is to just give you a flavor that it is not another subject that is being taught in college, or it is not your specialization, so to speak, because most of you are graduates, so you know what a specialization means, right? Marketing to me is how you look at life. Okay, so I'm going to share some of my perspectives with regard to industry, with regard to business, but also with regard to the way I approach life. And therefore, I'm talking about marketing fundamentals in key industries. Why I'm talking about key industries is very often I've realized at an MBA student level, the good students are the ones who can explain a concept to you and then give you an example for it, right? And the better students are the ones who actually start with the industry example and then are able to draw out what concept was applicable to it. So you can look at a brand's success and you're able to figure out what made that brand successful. So it's very, very important in these cases to be able to attach yourself to an industry, to a brand, to a business, and draw from there. The reason why I asked you to also keep your notes together is because I won't have the time to go into details of all these examples. So I'm going to give you the broad framework, and I'm going to briefly, very briefly talk about some of these industries. Maybe in the question section, we can take up some more of this. Okay. So I always like to begin a talk, especially to my students, by talking about some of my heroes, people that I have believed in life, or people that I have drawn from. I have a lot of heroes in life, and right now I'm only putting up 3 of them here. Umar sir, can you read out if there are any comments? Umar sir?
There's none at the moment.
So I'll just ask a question. If you can read out the comments, it will be great, because otherwise I'll have to stop the PPT. Yeah. So tell me who this is. Anybody? Anyone knows who this is? I'm not making it very easy, am I? Okay. So the first one, nobody could answer. Anyone knows who this is?
The first one, somebody said Socrates.
Okay. Socrates. Okay. Second one. No? No one?
Da Vinci.
Da Vinci, not bad. And who's this?
This one's easy, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm still waiting.
Warren Buffett.
And there are 2 people in that picture. Who's the other one? Come on. No? Okay.
Everybody has only written about Warren Buffett.
Yes, that itself is the lesson in marketing. Because the other person is Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's partner. But Warren Buffett is far more visible in the market. He's more known in the media. There is a lot more written about him. Although I think Charlie Munger is even smarter than Warren Buffett. He's a real brain behind his operation. Obviously, Warren Buffett is among the smartest people on the planet. The reason why I put these 3 people on the screen is because I don't believe in original work. I believe in copying from people who have done it better. Okay? और उसमें कोई शर्म नहीं है. So use what other people have done before you, who have done it better, and try and see if some of that you can, either change or improve upon and add something to it, right? But the other reason why I like these 3 guys is because they seem to have figured out that there are no boundaries in life. What I mean by that is, all of you are going to spend the next 1 year focusing on one function, right? One discipline, marketing, right? Look at what Archimedes used to do. He was the guy who figured out that it is possible to move any object if you have a big enough fulcrum. So his statement was, if you give me a fulcrum big enough, I can move the earth. Okay. And that's how most of you mechanical engineers would probably know the lever, right? The lever came into effect from there. His second invention was a screw, which allowed water at lower levels to be pumped to higher levels before we got the water pumps that we all use, right? So all of you live in buildings and water goes into the underground tank and then it goes to the terrace wala tank. That is happening today because of the suction. But he was able to figure out one before that, right? The third example is of how to burn an enemy ship at sea, while at sea. So he used big reflective mirrors and actually used the sails of the ships, enemy ships, and burned them, right? But obviously, the biggest reason why most of you would probably know the name Archimedes is because he ran out of a bathtub naked, right? So Eureka is a word that you know. But like I said, that is what made him famous. But he did a lot of other things that are worth learning from. Similarly, if I look at Vinci, Da Vinci was essentially a guy who didn't know what category he fell into. So most people know him as a painter or a sculptor, but he was as much an engineer, he was as much a doctor. If he wanted to paint something, if he wanted to draw something, he would study it the way physicians study, right? So once when he wanted to draw a horse, he spent about 3 weeks in a horse stable, learning or understanding the muscle movements of a horse, right? And there are, if you just Google him, you'll probably find those sketches. But again, he was also an engineer, so he came up with the big crossbow, the one that can hit elephants in the field. And fortunately, unfortunately, he's known for this one, right? It's a very small painting in a single place in the world, but he seems to be known more for that than anything else. Again, the painting itself is fantastic. There is a lot of detail that most people tend to miss out, but that's what he's known for. So what tends to happen is rich people, famous people tend to get known for one thing that they did. Okay, Warren Buffett, for example, is known because he's one of the richest guys in the world. Most people miss out how those people got there. Okay, most people miss out how Socrates became the kind of philosopher he was, Archimedes became the kind of mathematician he was, Leonardo da Vinci became the artist that he was. They get there because they are able to mix disciplines. And the reason I'm telling you about mixing disciplines is because I'm going to ask you to become a better marketeer by understanding finance. Okay, so those of you who picked marketing because you couldn't understand finance, tough luck. You're going to need finance if you want to be a better marketer. Okay, so let's move ahead. So this is just about me and my heroes. What are we going to cover in this session? We're going to do these things. I'm going to talk about 3 things. I'm going to talk about what is marketing according to me and what it delivers. Again, like I said, I don't want to cover your entire syllabus, so I'm just going to give you a very, very top of the line flavor. Then I'm going to talk about how this applies to you and how you can approach marketing as a career. Okay, and the third thing again is, what is the action out of all of this? How are you going to use this in the next 12 months? So for me, the first one is at a framework concept level. The second one is on what you should do over the long term to be able to make it so behavior. And the third one is how you prepare for it. If you don't do the third one, the first 2 don't matter, right? It's just like you watching a presentation, a webinar, or a movie. So let's talk about the first one. In order to approach a lot of information in a very short time, this is what I do. I use something called mental models. Okay, mental models allow you to understand the world without getting caught up in its complexity, right? So if you wanted a simpler way of representing it, this is how it is. You have a mental model which shapes behavior. That behavior gives you a result, and the result reinforces your mental model, right? So for example, a guy who starts to work out, he starts to work out because he wants to look better. That impacts how he looks, and therefore people give him compliments. Therefore, it reinforces behavior, right? The same thing with new hairstyles. The same thing with perhaps new clothes, right? A mental model allows you to understand the world in a certain way, and it causes you to behave in a certain way. So let's say, for example, this is the 4th or 5th webinar you've had in the series. One reason why you're here is because perhaps it's compulsory for all of you guys. But the other reason is perhaps that the previous sessions were good. So mentally, you're thinking this kind of a workshop gives me something useful. And that's what's making you land up on time and probably take notes. If I'm able to do that job well, as a result, you'll go to the next one in a positive mindset. If my behavior or if my teaching is not good enough, that result will get slightly diluted. And the next one, you'll start reinforcing saying, kuch achhe hote hain, kuch nahi hote. Yeah. So that's called reinforcement. So everything we do fits into these 3, right? Pick any part of your life. Okay. whether it is falling off a bike or whether it is falling in love with somebody. It's all reinforced by this, right? So I like mental models because they give me, like I said, a skeletal system without getting caught up in the complexity. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and talk about industry examples as I go along. I must warn you, most of the time when I talk about examples, most people don't get it because I'm connecting something they haven't seen, right? But this slide specifically is to remind both you and me that there are lots of companies in the world. Unfortunately, when I talk to when I talk to marketing students, I only get to hear a few examples. You know, people will talk about McDonald's, people will talk about Apple, people will talk about Amazon. If you want to do marketing as a career in India, my suggestion is try and pick Indian examples. Okay, so please make a note of this. Try and pick Indian examples. And what I mean by Indian examples is most of the time these days you'll end up with these names, right? Even Book My Show for that matter, most people will not think of. Guys, just give me a second. I just need to get water. Just as an aside, since I moved out, you probably saw the magic lamp behind me. Hello, sir. How are you doing? You probably saw the magic lamp behind me, and I'm going to ask you a question about it later on. But like I was saying, industry examples tend to be, clustered around these. You are still in your final year of college. If you start thinking only in the constrained manner that everybody else thinks, you'll never make it out. So please realize that there are other names in the Indian ecosystem. And frankly speaking, in today's day and age, there are all of these names. How many of you know Garware Technical Wires? You should read up. They've had a dream run. They have about 80% market share globally in the category that they are in, right? HDFC Bank, I don't need to tell you about. DDB Mudra, Madison Media, these are service companies. 52% of India's GDP today comes from services, largely from IT services, but these are services which a lot of you will probably end up working for either as projects or in your first or second jobs. Companies like WebEngage and Zoho, and even Shaadi for that matter, these are the new world online companies in India that are global in nature. So Zoho, for example, I think is present in 69 countries. Shaadi has a customer in 187 countries. WebEngage has paying customers, I think, about 100 countries. Okay, Kissmetrics. Kissmetrics and Arun Ice Cream. The reason I included both of these is because for some strange reason, people forget that South India is a part of India, right? And South India comes up with some amazing service companies. So if you don't know what Kissmetrics is, or if you don't know what Arun Ice Cream is, Arun Ice Cream is essentially the company that has stopped Amul from having domination in the South, right? That's how strong they have been and were. Okay. Kissmetrics is an analytics company based in Chennai, in TN. And again, they have customers in over 50 countries, right? So why I'm telling you this is because I don't want you to continue thinking about India only in terms of this, right? This everybody talks about. These examples everybody quotes. But if you can figure out how this works, if you can figure out how these work, that will probably separate you as a marketeer from everybody else. Because part of marketing, understanding marketing, is being able to understand business, right? So what is marketing according to me? The simplest definition that I can think away from all the Wikipedia definitions that you guys go through is that marketing is the process of creating value. Sorry, there's a typo there. Of creating value for all stakeholders involved, right? The simplest way to explain consumer value is consumer benefits minus consumer cost. I'll come to this in the next slide. But what I want you to get from this is creating value for the business, creating value for the customer, and creating value for stakeholders is the role of marketing. Unfortunately, marketing gets confined to acquiring new customers or to making new advertising. That's not what marketing is about. Those are just tasks that you end up doing. The goal of marketing is to create value for the business. Okay, and I'm going to talk about value creation and value understanding in the next few slides. So what exactly is value? The simplest definition of value is when someone else is ready to pay more to take from you what you have at a lower cost. Okay. So if my knowledge has, let's say, cost me $100 to acquire, and you are willing to pay me $150, then that is value for me. Sorry, that is value for you, because you are still thinking it's worth $150, and according to me, I already know the cost is $100. That's a consulting business, right? Knowledge being transferred to somebody else at a higher cost, right? Similarly with products, similarly with services, you know. So Kissmetrics took 50 lakh rupees to develop their own service suite. Now they make 50 lakh rupees every day of the year because of that suite, because they sell it to multiple people, right? So what is value? When somebody else thinks of your possession as more valuable than what you think of it as, or what it takes for you to create it, that is value. Okay. So as you keep increasing the volume that you build, the cost to make per unit goes down, and the ability to own it, the willingness to pay for it from the customer keeps going up, right? That's what creates value for you. Okay. And where does this value show up? It shows up in premiumization. It shows up in the balance sheet. It shows up in market reputation. It shows up in being able to attract the right people to the team. Everybody wants to work for these companies, these teams. And it shows up in your ability to win, even if you're not a product company which started off right. So for example, Snapchat came up with all the right features, but Facebook, because of its ability to win that market, simply got those features onto it as additional features for itself and still continued to grow, right? So your ability to win is also defined by how you have delivered value to your customers in the past. Yeah. So why to create value? Because once you understand how to do it, you can do it again and again and again and again and again, right? The chart, the picture on the right hand side of the slide is the kind of brands that have come out of these 8 or 10 companies. Okay, so the top 100, 150 brands have come out of, let's say, 10 companies. Why? Because these companies understand how to deliver value by creating brands. Remember, there are two things. Creating value and building a brand are two different things. I'll talk about brands later. But the whole idea of this slide is to try and show you, once you know how to do it, it's possible to keep repeating it. So you build value for yourself and you build value for your stakeholders. And that's how you make more money, right? For yourself, for your company, for your ecosystem, for your stakeholder, everybody. So the repeatability principle is not talked about. It is not a very, it's not a very popular thing to talk about. Everybody wants to do something new. Understand and look back at every part of your life, every part of a successful person's life. Repeatability is what builds value. The big gains come from being able to repeat something over and over again and doing it well. You know, Virat Kohli is a great, successful captain of India today because he can repeatedly chase down totals. He doesn't do it once in a while. It's not the boring part of his job, right? Repeatability makes value. So I'm going to talk about how to create value through marketing. And frankly, this is probably half your syllabus. Okay. So I'm not going to go very deep into it. I'm just going to give you a sense of what each of these mean. Consumer insights. What is an insight? If you Google the definition for insight, you probably won't find a good one. You'll find a lot of examples, but you won't find the definition of insight, which is very odd because Google can give you definitions for literally anything and everything. Okay. I struggle even today to be able to define an insight, because the way I define it is to say what does not exist, being able to see what does not exist. So if you can observe a consumer doing something, that's not an insight, that's an observation. If you can figure out what made that person do that, the motivation behind it, okay, that's probably a level 1 insight. And if you keep asking why the person did what he did or she did, that's insight, right? Consumers always behave from insight. You yourself, if you have recently bought, let's say, a bike, okay, you could have bought any bike in the market, but there was a certain perception that led to you buying a certain bike. Okay. you paid your college fees last year, right? You decided to do your MBA. All of these were because of an insight which was probably much more deeper than I want to do an MBA. The I want to do an MBA came from a why. Why do you want to do an MBA? Maybe because I want to study, maybe because I want to stay relevant, maybe because everybody else is doing it. Why are you doing what everybody else is doing? Okay. And you keep going deeper and deeper into why questions. You reach some level of consumer understanding. It leads you to what typically is psychology territory. Okay. And that's why consumer psychology is so closely linked to both consumer research and to marketing. Right. So consumer insights, if you don't know anything else about marketing and you know just this one thing, or you understand this consumer insights, you'll probably be a better marketer than half your class. That's the power of it. I've been doing this for 20 years and frankly, I still think I'm scratching the surface. But category after category, all those examples, all those brands that I showed you, all of them have leveraged an insight that existed in that category. Okay. And that is what they have built themselves on. That is how business grows. So if you have the right consumer insights, you can build brands. What are brands? Brands are essentially different from products, right? Because what you want to show your consumer is that while I'm part of a category, I am different from that category. Okay. So differentiation is a part of how you convince your customer that you are the only thing they should consider for themselves. And differentiation comes from product benefits. It comes from pricing. It essentially the 4 P's you can think of, but it also comes from your innate understanding of what that category delivers and what the consumer requires. The gap between the two can help you build differentiation, right? The fourth thing a lot of people don't talk about, and this is very, very key, because if you're a student today and you're going to become a marketer tomorrow, the first couple of years you'll be spending, as a management intern, as a trainee, and as a junior member of the team, right? So testing stuff will be with you. Testing a new concept, testing a new product, all of this will fall into your lap. So understanding how to test marketing is very, very key. Most of the time what people tend to do is they say हमने नया product बनाया है, ये product market में test करके आते हैं. So they go and ask, let's say for example if they make a bag of chips, so they'll go and give it to some people and say कैसा लगा, अच्छा लगा, आके देखो, तीखा है, मीठा है, ज़्यादा salt है. They'll ask questions like that. That is not testing. Okay, that is not marketing, because what you're testing there is product parameters. You're only testing, if it's food, then you're only testing taste, and you're perhaps testing flavor, and you're testing texture. When you test the marketing bundle, you test the whole thing. You test what the consumer wants to eat it for. Will the consumer want to eat it again? Will the consumer willingly reach out for it? Will the consumer think of it as different, right? So testing the bundle is very different from testing the product. Most companies tend to falter here. Even some of the companies that I showed you in that previous slide have faltered there, right? And they had to sort of course correct then and get back on track. Loop marketing. Loop marketing is essentially brands that are growing and stable. How do you keep them working, right? So I have a slide separately on loop marketing, so I'll come to that slide. But essentially remember that if you don't understand the right consumer insights, you pretty much don't have a starting point. You are like everybody else, okay? So spend as much time as you can on reading up consumer insighting. There are courses on consumer insighting. There are workshops, there are webinars. Try and understand consumer insighting as much as you can, okay? Try and at least ask 5 levels of why, okay? To be able to get to the core of what that person's belief system is. Brand building, I'll talk about a little bit. Differentiation, again, there is apparent differentiation and there's built-in differentiation, right? I don't want to load the whole thing into one conversation, which is why I've kept most of these things aside. But typically I will spend a whole section talking only about differentiation and not talk about anything else. That's how deep these things go, right? And so testing the bundle is important because as a young member of the team, this will most probably fall into your lap. And loop marketing is what the marketing team as a whole, the organization as a whole tends to do. We'll come back to some of this, right? So how do you discover and create value? So just to give an example of the fact that every part of those 5 slides, those 5 boxes that I showed you, can create value. Okay, so if you have insights, then you can create better business. Okay, as a company, Walmart's example is here on how to create value using low price strategy. Okay, it is something that DMart in India has copied very well. And also the central picture is about how the entire organization is able to build value because of what marketing did for it. So in most cases, for a company, tangible assets is only 14%, brand value is almost 20%. And the intangibles, which is their connection to their consumer, okay, their ability to repeat processes, that is 66%. That's the value. That's the value of value in marketing, right? I'm stressing on this again and again and again because unfortunately, marketing ends up being writing a tagline, making a brand using the right colors. Please, those are the last things you should be thinking about. Okay, please understand the role of marketing. The site seems to have stuck. Okay, there it goes. So here's another way of looking at how marketing builds value. Okay, first of all, like I said, is if your cost keeps going down, it allows you to price yourself at a premium. Everybody understood that. Here's another way of looking at how marketing delivers value. Each of these companies, these are listed companies. These numbers are about a week or 10 days old. But the top line turnover, which means how much of sales has HUL done in the last 1 year, it did 38,000 crores in turnover. And yet the market cap is 466 crores. Okay. What does that mean? That means that for a company that is today doing 38,000 crores in sales, just sales, not profit. Okay. People are willing to pay 466,000 crores to buy that company. Okay. Similarly, Marico does a turnover of 6,000 crores. People are willing to pay 40,000 crores for it. Similarly, ITC, similarly, Nestle. Okay. Why are people willing to pay more for a company when they can see that it is only doing 38,000 crores in sales? It seems stupid, right? The reason why they are willing to pay a premium even at the company level is because they believe that these companies know how to repeat themselves, which means that their success is not a flash in the pan, that their brands which have grown so far can continue to grow. Okay, very, very important as a marketing student to be able to understand the role of finance in marketing. If you don't understand how it creates value, you'll never be able to show even the quality of your work because the CFO will be more stronger than you. So please understand, I'll talk about at the end, I'll talk about what to prepare for in the next 12 months, but understand the role of finance in marketing. When I was doing my MBA, I didn't understand finance. I didn't want to understand finance. I perhaps didn't have great finance professors and I can blame them for it. Okay, at least partly. But the key thing is, once I started working, I figured out that I don't understand business. If I don't understand business, I can't be a good marketeer. And to understand business, I have to understand the language of business. Unfortunately, language of business is finance. It's accounting. That doesn't mean you have to be an MBA in finance. It just means you have to understand certain aspects that finance takes care of or shows up in. Okay. And I know this is bad news for some of you who wanted to avoid finance completely, but tough luck, right? So if you understand the value of what you're creating, you will be the hero. Otherwise, somebody else will take the credit. So this slide was essential to show you that not just at a brand level, not just at, cost plus product pricing, but even at a company level, you can become valuable, right? So the second framework that I want to talk about is a 3P framework. Okay. How do you build value into a brand? Okay. Perception, predictability, and people. By people, I mean repeats. Okay. Perception. All of us make all our purchases irrationally. It's a given. If you don't know about it, read about it, right? But being able to understand that person's irrationality and being able to cater or design for it is the skill of a marketer, okay, or a marketing team. Okay. And therefore, to be able to consistently capture the same kind of perception allows you predictability of your results, which means you are able to say how much of my stock is going to get sold out. You know, if I'm doing digital marketing, it allows you to say what will my campaigns return. Okay. If you're a social media marketer, it tells you how much response will I get, how much engagement will I get, how much acquisition will I get because of my campaigns, right? Predictability is a part of using marketing to build value for your employer, because your employer is going to ask you these questions again and again. Perception is understanding that consumer's perception so you can respond to your boss, right? And people, no business can be built just by you pouring money. Okay, that's just a fallacy. Marketing does not get unlimited money. In fact, marketing always has to be able to work with lesser and lesser money. I love people who do zero money marketing, right? Sometimes I force some of my interns to not take money and still build something. It's good fun. Because when your customers start recommending you to brands, to their friends, your brands grow. So people are a very, very important part of how to do this. And I'm again going to only touch upon the top line. Build perception, ensure predictability, and get the right people. Get the right people means get the right audience. Get the right customers. If you know who has that perception, get that person. Don't get somebody else just because it's easier. Classic example of this is if you're trying to build a luxury product or if you're trying to build any product, don't give discount just for the heck of it. Because the moment you give discount, the kind of consumers who come into your product are consumers who don't care about your price, who don't care about your product, they care about your price. So they will go away the moment the price increases. Don't fall for that trap. Okay? Build your business around the right people and your business continues to grow on its own. The third framework that I want to talk about is the 4C framework. This is usually how I understand, when somebody talks to me. So I get a lot of people coming to me and pitching their ideas to me, their startups to me. So they'll tell me, we are trying to build the latest Facebook, or we are trying to build, a lens that can look at a surface and find coronavirus, okay, and stuff like that. When they are talking to me, I break their conversation down into these 4 C's. Okay. I think of who the customer is going to be. Okay. Which means I think of what value is this product going to deliver to that customer. So therefore, who is the customer going to be? I don't think of customers in terms of demographics. I think of who needs this the most, right? So all of this is happening in my head while I'm listening to them. So first C is customer. The second thing is I think of what category is this a part of, right? So what category is Arun Ice Cream a part of? Okay. Is it a part of ice creams as a category, or is it a part of desserts as a category? Is it a part of parties as a category, entertainment as a category, right? What is the category selling? If the category is trying to sell pistachio ice cream and almond ice cream and flavor ice cream, and I can place my ice cream as an entertainment option, automatically these guys will sell 1 scoop and I will sell a half-liter tub, because every time somebody wants to do a party, they will buy my pack. You get what I mean? So therefore, understanding what the category is selling and what I am selling makes a world of difference. Okay. 50% of Indian companies today focus on services. That means most of you will have a chance to work for service companies. It is very important to understand what a service company sells and what its category sells. Okay. Even if it's an online firm. Okay. Who's the competition? Your competition is the best friend you have in the market. Your competition is the best friend in the market. Why? Because India is still a growing economy. So you can grow and your competition can grow. Both of you can grow together. First part. Second part, your competition tells you your weakness. By taking share away from you, they are telling you, तुमको ये ठीक से नहीं आता है, ये करो ठीक से. Third, your competition shows you where the opportunities could be. When they go chasing something, it gives you an opportunity to understand what chasing could be. Okay. I don't know if yesterday anybody saw Zoom and Geo chat. Okay. Geo video chat or something like that. If you haven't seen it, Google it. See how closely Jio has tried to copy Zoom. Okay. They have literally taken slide by slide by slide. They've taken screen by screen by screen, the same thing. But they're doing it to try and get to equality. They'll probably differ it from here. Hopefully they'll differ it from here. But your competition tells you what the opportunity is. Your competition is the best friend you have in the market. And if you don't benchmark yourself against competition, if you don't study the competition, you're zero. Unfortunately, when I get a lot of interns, this is where they miss out on. Instead of thinking about who the category is, what the category is, who the competition is, what is the competition already doing, they start by scratching their head saying, मैं अलग क्या कर सकता हूँ या कर सकती हूँ. Please don't do that. As a student, as a young marketer, don't do that. Don't start from scratch. Learn from people who have done it before. That is why I keep talking about heroes. That is why I talk about learning and copying. Learn from the rest of the category before you even start to think on your own. Okay, 2/3 of your work is done by others. Leverage it. The last C is called context. Okay, which means what is the context of this category? What influences this category? So if Mahindra Tractors is the brand that I am supposed to market, what is the context of Mahindra Tractors? When are tractors applicable? Who are they applicable to? Okay, what happens if rainfall in a part of a country is very good? What happens if there's a drought in another part of the country? What happens if farmers tend to become more self-sufficient on their lands? What happens when labor situations go adverse and people move from rural areas to urban areas? What does it do to my tractor business? Understand the context of the category. Context is never of the brand. It is always of the need. Okay, so understand the context. If you want, you can go in reverse. Usually I find it easier to think top down because customer is literally my first thought. Okay, then the category, then the competition, then the context. But the context tells you so much more than the first 3 C's don't tell you. So if you don't pick up anything else from this entire deck, this presentation, pick this way of thinking. Okay, just use the 4C framework. You can obviously use the 3P framework if you want. I already gave you 5 keys to marketing. But if you want to start thinking, start from a 4C framework. It just helps. And again, like I was saying, inciting is listening to what was never said. Okay. People will tell you something, but they will behave very differently. I put a lot of premium on behavior, not just in marketing, in life in general. If somebody tells me I am awesome, I don't hear it till I see them doing something awesome. Okay. If somebody says I'm honest, I don't look at their honesty. I look at whether they filled up their cash vouchers, right? If they filed in their sick leave, that is what tells me whether a person is honest. So I pay a lot of premium on behavior. A lot of people say, "हाँ मिलते हैं, बात करते हैं." Okay, most people don't end up doing that. So pay a premium on behavior in every part of life. If you realize most of what I'm trying to tell you is applicable to personal life and professional life, that's how I like it. I prefer it like that. Okay. Context, like I said, look at mega trends. You will never see mega trends happening. Never. Okay. Because they are so fuzzy when they start off that the only time you see them is when they are already a big deal. Okay. But if you're paying attention to context, if you're thinking about Mahindra Tractors, you might connect Mahindra Tractors to lack of labor availability in farmland. Okay. And that might help you to figure out what is it that you need to market your tractor on. I'm deliberately not picking FMCG examples because those are the ones that unfortunately everybody talks about. Okay. Marketing is not FMCG, especially not Indian marketing. Okay. Most of you will be lucky if you can get into a marketing FMCG company, but your careers will be made elsewhere. So try and think about other categories first. Yeah. Coming to what is a brand. Again, look at the number of brands I've put up here. Most of them are homegrown Indian brands, right? Almost all of them are homegrown Indian brands. And yet, most people struggle to define what a brand is. Okay. And you get mnemonics like this where you say there are so many aspects to a brand, etc., etc. Try and simplify it. Go back to the skeletal system, like I said. Okay. What actually is a brand? It's not about the advertising, the perception building, etc. And it's definitely not about its aspects. It's definitely not about the color, the logo, the packaging, etc., etc., etc. Brand is a simple thing. A brand is a contract. Okay, it's a contract between your customer's expectations and your customer's experience. If expectations meet experience, you're safe. If expectations are exceeded by experience, you grow. If expectations are bigger than experience, your brand tanks. That's what a brand is. A brand is a contract. A brand name tells people what to expect, which is why Vodafone and Airtel get so much of galis, right? You crack jokes on them because your base expectation is that you will be able to complete your call properly. Who set up the expectation? Those brands. 10 years ago, they were advertising their network, right? Go pick up advertising if you've forgotten about it, and look at all their ads, whether it was the pug or whether it was relationships in the case of Airtel. All they did is talk about how network is awesome. And today those brands are not able to meet that expectation. So brand is always a contract. If your brand is getting brickbats from consumers online, if social media is cribbing about your brand, it means your brand had set up examples or expectations which they are not fulfilling. Again, this is one of those slides. If you don't take away anything else and take away just this one picture, you might end up making a career on it. Okay. Very, very, very essential to figure out what expectations are being set up and what experience is being delivered. Remember, even if you're a product brand, it's not the physical product, it's the experience that gets delivered. Okay. And I've said this in the previous slide as well. It is not your point of view. As a marketeer, you are inconsequential in front of the consumer. You are a nobody. Your company is a nobody. Okay. It is the user's expectation and the user's experience, which together create your brand. So, people who go on an ego trip saying, I created this and I created that, please understand. Okay. If you can stay humble enough to understand that it is user's expectation and user's experience, your brand will continue to grow. The moment you think it is you, you're dead. Yeah. I'm not going to dwell on most of these because, this is another thing that I wanted to actually talk about, but then I realized that if I do, then only I'll be talking and we won't have any conversation. So I'm going to skip this part. So here's section 1 summary. Marketing is value creation. I don't know if you guys have been taking notes, but these are essentially the things that I covered. Marketing is about value creation. I spoke about the 5 ways of creating value. Each of those by themselves are a separate, paper in marketing. Okay, they are a separate career in marketing. The best part about marketing is that it gives you disproportionate rewards. If you enjoy digging deeper into any aspect, it gives you disproportionate rewards over time. Okay, it takes care of you and your career for sure. The 3P framework helps you stay honest. It helps you create value and go to the right customer for the right perception and make sure that it is repeatable enough. The 4C framework is just how I think, and frankly, I've realized a lot of people start thinking like that because that's the fastest way to think about a new category or a new opportunity, right? And what is a brand? Like I said, a brand is a contract. Okay, and very, 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 very key. This is not about your point of view. I find people who get good at marketing to generally start having a bigger ego. Doesn't help because after that they go downhill. Right? So think about the value you create and continue to focus on the value you can create. A lot of that value tends to come back to you very easily. Yeah. Coming to the second part, how to approach marketing as a career. Okay. I'm going to go a little faster on this. I think there's a limited time opportunity for all of you in all of this. And most opportunities are built in disruption. Right? So is this one. And by this, I don't mean COVID, because that seems to be the boring thing to talk about for me. Okay. So disruption does not mean COVID. COVID is a passing event. Okay. That's not what the disruption is. Okay. So for example, what is happening in COVID is that I did this survey where I asked people within 15 days of the lockdown ending, Will you go back to any of these behaviors? Okay. Look at what people did. Most people said, I will not go back to all of this. Obviously, that's also not right. But the fact that they are even thinking too much, they aren't thinking too much about going back. Okay. The key question for you is here in the right top corner. What businesses will this affect? This doesn't affect only one industry. So even a simple thing like a food habit can impact multiple industries, from packaged foods and restaurants to air conditioning companies, okay, to real estate companies, to furniture companies, to people who run businesses which are around, Zomato kind of businesses, or companies that create software for billing systems. Everybody gets affected, right? So one small thing, everybody gets affected. If you want to see the entire survey, I've written an article on Medium. The link is there. Again, simple example. Will you stock extra groceries at home? Okay. Now it seems stupid to stock extra groceries at home after the lockdown is over. But look at what people will do. Most people said, I will immediately lock extra groceries. I will store extra groceries, which means the behavior will continue. Okay. What does this mean for retail companies? What does this mean for e-commerce companies? What does this mean for general stores? What does it mean for packaged goods companies? Okay. How do they manage a supply chain if somebody is going to overstock? Again, what businesses will this affect? Yeah. So like I said, I don't think the context of this is not COVID. The context of this is globalization. I think you guys are living in the beginning of the end of globalization. And what I mean by that is that at least the first 10 years of your career will be shaped not by COVID, but by globalization. I could be wrong. We could all die tomorrow. But if we don't die, my chances on globalization are still higher than COVID. Okay. And I'm willing to take that bet and go wrong. Why am I saying this? I'm not saying this because of just academic opinion. Not because, there were some articles that I read somewhere, which unfortunately is how a lot of people are, think. They read the latest article and they think this is it. Understand the guy who's writing the article is also fulfilling a job. Usko din mein ek article likhna hai. Kuch to likhega ya likhegi. Okay, now everybody sitting at home, they can write 2 articles a day and they get paid for it. So please don't believe everything that is written. But why am I saying this? I'm not saying it because of either academic opinion or political opinion. These two, according to me, follow. They are not they don't set the context, they follow. What sets the context is hard economic data. Okay. This chart at the bottom is the global container ship order book. Okay. Which means those containers that you see on ships, the big containers that exports happen on. The order book for new containers. Look at how it's gone. Okay. If there are no new containers being built, there is no new trade expected. That tells you that globalization and trade itself is slowing down, which means a lot of more Atmanirbhar or whatever you call it. Okay. But it means a lot of opportunity that comes in the shape of this disruption. Whenever you want to form an opinion, try and get to the facts. Try and look at data. So, what actions can you take? Sorry, just a second. Okay, I've been talking for about 48 minutes. I'm going to talk for another 15 or 17 minutes and then we'll take questions. So what actions can you take next? Right? In my mind, try and do this. At least if you can't do much else. Okay? Learn to understand who the audience is. Unfortunately, this becomes like a demographic definition. Females 15 plus, ABC, living in metros. Sorry, doesn't work. Who is the audience? Who is the audience means you should know something about the consumer. Try and give the person a name. Try and give the person a backstory. Try and talk something about their life. Only when you talk about their life do you understand what is the benefit or the proposition that you can serve out to them. Okay. So for example, if I ask you to work for VIP Bags, which is an Indian company, and I tell you you're going to work on a brand called Sky Bags, okay, and you're going to make backpacks like this one. You have to understand what kind of people actually want backpacks. And why is everybody who goes to college carrying a backpack which should be taking on a hike? And therefore, what do you do in the product? What is the proposition and what benefit? Which means how do you design it to make it look cool? Because cool is what that person is trying to get to. He's not trying to have a bag. He's trying to be cool, right? So please understand what is the proposition or the benefit. And therefore, what is the insight? Which means, why does this person want to look cool when going to college? क्या फर्क पड़ता है? पूरा दिन तो बैठे रहोगे, बैग तो टेबल के नीचे रहेगा. So what is the insight on that person that makes him want to spend time and money to buy this bag from you? And therefore try and understand what drives that perception, which means understand who that person's heroes are. So maybe there is a new, Ranbir Kapoor film where he's carrying a backpack like that, which is influencing this person's perception. Understand these things. Okay. None of this takes money. Okay. This just takes effort. You got to be able to make the links. Okay. And then think of how do you differentiate. So if Skybags wants to build this kind of a backpack, then how is that backpack going to be different from Wildcraft and everybody else who's in the same category, right? So master these aspects of marketing. None of this requires money. It requires a lot of thinking effort. It requires a hell lot of observation because you got to look at the rest of your class as samples, okay? Which most people think they are. Okay. Then again, whose expectation, whose experience? Okay. You are given a product that is, let's say a woman's makeup kit, right? Whose expectations, what experience? Okay. Understand this. Again, this takes a lot of observation. This takes perhaps some amount of reading. It takes a lot of data research. It takes a lot of data research because remember, you don't have to start from scratch. That category has existed. Competition has existed. The context of that category, women wanting to look good in public, has existed. Okay. You don't have to start from scratch. You can simply start from looking at, reading at, understanding data for all of these, right? So like I was saying, I spoke to you about loop marketing, right? Loop marketing is essentially marketing that a running company does. And running companies run after only one thing. Okay, they run after profit pools. Again, you'll have to Google the term profit pool and look at it. But what happens is needs are fulfilled by categories, not by individual products. Okay, which means if I can't buy you, I'll buy your competitor. Okay, that means that the category as a whole gets some money from the consumer. So within the category, some people make more money because they are able to understand what consumers want more. So profits tend to go to some companies. Okay, not all the companies in the category. Look at any category. You'll find the bottom half of the companies barely making profit. Okay, the top 2 or 3 are making lots of profit. So the whole rush is about profit pool. Okay, whether this is Hindustan Lever or Nestle, all they are going for is profit pool in that category. Okay, and so if you're a running marketing organization, the only 3 things that you need to do. Okay, I can see people are still entering. Okay, is these 3 things. Again, if you forget everything else, this is probably one slide that you can start your life with. Okay, it's called relevance, preference, and then influence. It goes anti-clockwise. You start from relevance, move to preference, move to influence. If you've heard my podcast already, I've spoken about this in detail. Okay, but essentially every marketing task that exists across the spectrum, across categories, across companies, across industries can be brought down to these 3 things. This is my way of thinking. Okay, can be brought down to these 3 tasks. You build relevance for your product, you build preference for your brand, and you build influence so that you don't have to keep spending marketing money. Your customers do it for you. But if you don't understand your customers, you can't build relevance for your product. And if you don't understand your customers, you can't build preference for your product over its immediate competition. And if you don't understand customers, then you definitely can't influence your existing customers to go back and influence new customers. Okay. I was working for a company where we wanted to enter a new market with a new product. Unfortunately, that category that we were trying to enter was already had about 87 brands, national and local brands in that category. Okay. And they were spending close to 80 crores or no, about 40 crores a year on advertising in the category. Now imagine launching a brand in that. Okay. We did it with 1.5 crores in marketing spend. All we did is we built this loop of why it should be relevant to some people, not everybody, some people, how they would prefer you and how they would bring their next 3 customers. So every happy customer built 3 more customers for me. Inside a year, we were the number 2 brand in that category in that market. We won the Asian prize for this. Okay. So what I'm talking about is not theory. This is stuff you use that you deploy in the market and actually make shitloads of money. Okay. Some of these slides tend to get stuck. Okay. Again, another quick point. Marketing is doing well without you. You know, all these companies are massive companies. They're doing really well. These 6 companies together have a turnover of about 70,000 crores. Okay. So obviously people are doing well. They're making their money. They're building value without you. But the opportunity for you is that all of these companies put together are only 10% of their category right now. So 700,000 crores is the value of the packaged foods category in India today. And that's also growing, by the way. And these companies, these massive companies, are only 10% of it, which means there's room for you to work for any of the other companies and build that up, which means there is room for you to start your own food packaging company and build that up. So always look at where you can play a bigger role and what the opportunity is. Okay. Section 2, summary. Like I said, disruption creates opportunity. Find the right disruption, you'll be able to do it. In my mind, the beginning of the end of globalization is the opportunity for this particular generation of marketeers. Look for big trends. Look for stuff that will happen over time. Look for stuff that will not change, perhaps. You know, that people will want to always feel good about themselves is a trend that will never change. So if you can build a brand around it, you'll probably do well. Okay. The aspects of marketing that I already spoke about, please try and understand them. Like I said, brands are a contract. So understand the expectation and deliver that experience. And loop marketing, relevance, preference, influence. Okay. Each of these slides are worth a lifetime of work. Each of these slides are worth 10,000 crores of money in a category. Okay. And like I said, there's still opportunity for all of you. But the fact is that you have to keep at it if you want to really make something out of yourself. The last thing I'm going to talk about is how to use the next 12 months. So typically I deliver one of the inaugural lectures for every batch. In your case, this year we didn't do it. I didn't do it. But I still want you to use your second year in a way that it is fruitful for you when you come out of college, right? So first of all, understand employability. Okay. If you understand brands, build your personal brand. Okay. And by personal brand, please don't take snappy looking pictures and write catchy, objective headlines. Nobody reads objective in a resume. Okay. So please don't do that. Understand awareness, interest, desire, action. Okay. If you want somebody to employ you, you have to understand, first of all, that they need to be aware of you. They need to have an interest in you. They need to have a desire to have you on the team and then recruit you. So understand that sequence of events. Okay. Build your personal brand. Figure out who your competition is. It's not the 79 people sitting with you. Okay. It's everybody else who's going to be out in the market at the same time as you. The benefit you have perhaps is the fact that if you bungle up in an interview and an IIM guy bungles up in the interview, nobody will remember you. They'll remember him saying IIM ka tha, fir bhi acha nahi tha. So that works in your favor. I have benefited personally from this. Okay. So how to use the IDA funnel for yourself? Please understand this. Resume and LinkedIn are very, 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 very important. If you want to become a social media marketer or a digital marketer, which a lot of people for some reason want to become these days, if you don't have a good resume, if you don't have a good LinkedIn profile of your own, you can kiss that chance goodbye. I'm never going to recruit somebody whose own Twitter, Instagram accounts are not kept properly. Okay, I'm never going to give them anything to do in social media. Fat chance. Okay. I keep writing posts about this on Medium. I keep writing about this on LinkedIn. I keep posting about it on Twitter. So there's a lot more that I can talk about this. I usually do a 2-hour talk on resume and LinkedIn and employability itself. But I'm not going to do that here. You can keep in touch with my posts. Sorry. What to do in the next 12 months? Like I said, okay, it's a bad market scenario. Everybody knows that. I wanted to actually put some very scary slides about how 60% jobs are down in most parts of India in most industries, but that doesn't matter to you because that's a temporary scenario. That's going to change in 6 months. Okay, use the time to sharpen your axe. Okay, I don't know if KK sir has talked to you about this, but sharpen your axe, which means get better at what you do. Learn marketing theory, but learn where to apply it. Please understand the difference between each model you are taught in college. Okay, the BCG metrics and the Ansoff model are not replaceable. They don't apply to the same category. They don't apply to the same situation. Okay, if you learn about Michael Porter, please don't apply it just because you know it. Learn where to apply it. The beauty of this is every model tells you where it is applicable, where it is not. So don't force fit anything. Okay, please learn where to apply it because that is the first thing that shows people that you are an incompetent student. Okay, other ways to classify. Okay, classify by industry. Is it a B2B industry, B2C industry? Is it D2C, which is direct to consumer, or is it B2B2C? B2B2C is, for example, a media company, a media agency. Okay, their client is a brand which is a consumer brand. So Madison's client is Marico. Marico's client is a consumer. So B2B2C. Okay. Understand category, understand company, understand brand. Okay. So washing is a category. Okay. Hindustan Lever is a company. Surf Excel is a brand. Okay. Understand the difference between these three. Okay. Because you guys, a lot of you guys will be exposed to digital marketing and relatively using these terms. Understand the difference between acquisition, monetization, and churn. Okay. Read. Okay. Understand the difference between market share, mind share, and wallet share. Okay. If somebody gives you a brief, break that brief down into the 4 C's. Break that brief down into the 3 P's. Break that brief down into each of these classifications. That gives you a starting point. Go back to consumer thinking. Go back to competition thinking. Go back to the context of that category. You don't have to start from scratch, right? Do all of this. Learn to do all of this in the next 12 months. You'll get used to doing it when you get a job. Okay. The other thing, the scary part, understand business structurally. Okay. All of business can be understood by just 3 things: the balance sheet, the P&L, and the cash flow statement. And you don't need a finance professor for this. There are lots of videos. There's a guy called Vishal Khandelwal. Okay, on YouTube, he's got videos called Safal Niveshak. He explains this very well. I learned from there. Okay, I fortunately or unfortunately, I got to learn a lot about this over time, and it was because of this man that you see in the picture that I started learning these things. Okay, but understand these 3 things. Nobody will ever beat you in business. Nobody will ever be able to lie to you as a marketer if you understand these 3 statements. Okay. Again, most of you are going to be in India, so please learn about Indian brands. Learn about brands in every category. You can use Money Control. Don't use it for share information. Look for data. Money Control gives you information about every single company. Every single piece of publicly known information is available in Money Control. Use it. Okay. There's another website called Money Works For Me. Use Money Works For Me for trends. It gives you 10-year trends of that particular company. So if I mention the name Garware Technical Fibers to you, you should be able to go to moneyworksforme.com and look at their 10-year sales history or their profit history. Okay. Like I said, build your resume. Please don't lie. Okay. You're a student. Nobody expects you to be, expects your resume to be as good as a marketer with 10 years. Okay. But please don't throw jargon. Don't give crap. Okay. It makes it easier to throw your resume away. Okay. Please go deep in that field. So if you're going to show me 4 projects on your resume, please make sure you know what is in it. Don't just tell me what your classmates have done. It takes me 2 minutes to find out. Okay. And go deep into every field. When I was a student, Google didn't exist. Google was born in 1998. I finished my MBA in 2000. Okay. I didn't have a cell phone till 2002. And my cell phone didn't have data till 2004. Right. My point is, you can go deep into any field you want just by sitting at home. So please go deep into your field. Don't wait for permission from somebody else. Yeah. Again, just a reminder to all of you. These are just less than 1% of the opportunities that you have. Okay. You don't really have to work for the biggest names in the world to be able to be a good marketer. Okay, very, 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 very important. Get your hands dirty in the next 12 months. Secure internships. Okay, I'm always offering internships. Okay, secure internships. Figure out with college how to find your time. Be professional about it. I've had some bad experience with RISV students. I've had some good experience with RISV students. Okay, try and be one of the better ones. Okay, data and digital tools. Most digital companies want more users today. Understand this very carefully. Okay, so most of them offer some form of free access, which means Google AdSense has free access, HubSpot has free access, WebEngage has free access, Kissmetrics has free access. If your college writes to them, they might even give you a college login for the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever, because they want more people to learn their tools. Okay, get your hands dirty. Don't just give Gyan basis some PPT deck. Okay, don't tell me how SEO works. Everybody knows how SEO works. Tell me if you know how to make SEO work. Build a website. It takes 3 days to build a website of your own. You don't need anybody. Okay, there is a course on Coursera which allows you to build your own website. Build your own website, do your own SEO, get your hands dirty. Find a better partner in class. Luckily, you're no longer sitting next to the person you usually sit next to in class, because that person is the most comfortable person to sit next to. Forget that person. Find a better person in class. Latch on to a better person. Okay, and invest in yourself. Invest in your own learning. Invest in your own effort. Invest in moving forward 1% every single day. Okay. So for me, section 3 summary, understand your employability, use the next 12 months carefully, not coming back after that, and get your hands dirty. If your resume does not show that you have actually worked on tools, that you've actually done stuff, whatever projects you show me, I will disregard. At least I will. Okay. Last thing I want to tell you is this. Identify your heroes. Okay, you don't have to have one hero. Identify your heroes. Learn from their lives. Take the right lessons. Okay, be good at marketing if you want it to be your career. A lot of people talk about following your passion. I don't know what my passion is. I'm well over 40 now. I don't know what my passion is. But I know that if I can be good at something, I will enjoy it and I will do it well. And you end up making a lot of value for yourself. Okay, and the third one, coming from someone who's spoken for the last 1 hour plus, sounds odd, but talk less and do more. That's it. Happy to take questions. Happy to take feedback.
Okay. Thanks so much, Aditya. That was a wonderful session. If there are any queries, please either put them in chat or raise them in person directly.